Thanks to everybody for joining us this morning. Ariana Blaine, our president, I guess we've lost on the call at the moment. So my name is Marcus Hanscom. I'm the technology chair for NAGAP and formerly involved with NEGAP, as most of you know. So I will pass it off to Lauren Humphrey from University of Bridgeport to do some of our introductions for our speakers, and thanks so much for joining us.
Hi, this is Allison Garris. My Professional Development Committee co-chair, Lauren Humphrey, and I welcome you again to the NEGAP webinar seminar, Excellence in GEM, Utilizing Career Services and the Alumni Office to Improve Service to Graduate Students. This webinar topic was inspired by the 2015 NAGAP Promotion of Excellence Award, Excellence in GEM, Integrating Stakeholders in All Areas of the Student Life Cycle.
Hi, this is Lauren. We're so pleased to have two of these stakeholders with us today. Amy Marcella, Director of Alumni Relations, and Keith Hassel, Director of the Center for Career Development, both from the University of Bridgeport. Before we begin, please note the question box located on the right hand of your screen. Please feel free to submit your questions here as they come up. We'll continue to monitor this throughout the program, and we'll leave time at the end of the presentation for our speakers to address your questions. I'll turn it over to Keith now.
All right, good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Keith Hassel, and I am the Director for the Center for Career Development here at the University of Bridgeport. Just a brief background on myself. I joined UB about 7 months ago. However, I've been working in career development for about the last 8 years, and it's something that I'm truly passionate about, and not only just working in our department, but also partnership throughout campus. Just a disclaimer, I do want to mention I have a cold. I don't usually sound like this, but I wouldn't miss this webinar for the world, so of course I'm here. And Amy?
Yep, my name is Amy Marcella. I'm the Director of Alumni Relations here at the University of Bridgeport. An alum of the university as well from the College Student Personnel Master's Program here. Have spent the last 15 years of my career doing fundraising and segued that into a career in higher education. Prior to Keith being in the role of the Director of Career Development, I actually ran that office before I became the Alumni Director. So Keith and I worked really closely together, and when we were approached by Lauren and Allison to do this webinar, it was a no-brainer. We are already doing so many partnering things on campus and leading the charge of our growing university with the career development and alumni relations piece that it was like, yeah, absolutely, we'll kind of just talk about what we're doing. So we hope that we give you guys some tidbits, information. Bear with us. We're a work in progress. We're kind of scrappy, but we're doing a lot of different things, and it's a lot of fun, very exciting, very creative, and I hope you guys get something out of it. So.
Absolutely.
And I don't have a cold, but I can vouch, Keith does.
Okay, so just going over today's agenda and some of the things that we're going to cover. Again, we want to talk about just an overview of our department, so career development and alumni relations, some of the things that we have to offer, and as well as how we actually work with the graduate population. Additionally, we're going to touch on return of investment, its importance, and then how each of us really have our own role and how we can kind of contribute to that to help our graduate students. As well as campus partnerships, so again, with Amy and myself working together with our departments, but also how we could branch out and work with admissions or departments across campus, and then also identifying next steps and hopefully answer any questions that you may have. So just to jump into this, again, the Center for Career Development. One thing I do want to touch upon is that when I first started at UB, we decided to change the name of our department from Career Services to Career Development. Now, we felt that Career Services was almost giving the impression that we are a one-time service. So a student can stop by when they're about to graduate or they've recently graduated or just need a resume review, kind of a one-time thing. However, we really feel that our office offers the tools to help you be successful not only in your job after graduate school, but 10 years, 15 years down the line and throughout your professional path. So our mission. So the Center for Career Development is a comprehensive career counseling and resource center dedicated to empowering students as active participants in their own academic, professional, and career development. Through career exploration and experiential opportunities, students are challenged to expand their knowledge of themselves and the world of work in a dynamic and global community. So breaking it down, our office helps in two various functions. One is the career exploration. So for some of our graduate students who may have chosen this to come into a specific degree, we'll help them figure out, is this degree right for them? Really looking into what type of program would be appropriate for them, what can they be doing now in their graduate program to help make them marketable, as well as the career counseling, the career coaching piece which is the resume review, helps with job search, LinkedIn, networking, etc. So specifically, how we work with our graduate students. Graduate students have full access to our services just as an undergraduate student would. So they have access to our individual appointments, our online resources, any of our workshops, our programming. So that's definitely something that we want to make sure that admissions is aware of. Additionally, we make sure to really focus our appointments on the actual graduate population. So this is going to be different than some of our undergraduates as they have different needs and different expectations. And I'm sure this is no surprise, but many of our graduate students work full-time, so they are only able to come to our office after hours. Or maybe they're doing a career change or just looking for an opportunity to advance their career. Either way, we are accessible pretty much 24 hours a day. Recently, we've actually also extended our office hours so that we are now open later so that we can really be accessible to those students who may start class at 6 or 6:30. Previously, we were only open until 4:30. However, we found that many of our graduate students were working, and by the time they were able to come to campus, our office would be closed. Additionally, we offer online resources, which I know many offices are working towards. We have an online resume system called Optimal Resume, which graduate students can access 24 hours a day with online tools on help building this resume, as well as submitting it for an online review. So again, we provide our resources just as if you were any other student, and we want to make sure that we're available to help our students in the long run. And one of the things that we put together was a structured 4-year career development plan, which was specifically for our undergraduate students. We found that many of our graduate students were just coming to school, getting their graduate degree, and then going on, but not really utilizing our services. So what we decided to do, put together a structured 2-year career development plan for our graduate students. Now obviously with a graduate degree, the length of time will vary. However, we just wanted to hit some main points that we think some of our graduate students should be doing and thinking of. So first, strategize and evaluate how your advanced degree will assist in career progression. So if ultimately you want to get your MBA or you want to get your MS to help advance your career, well, how can we actually do that? Review and update your professional resume, obtain practical experience within your area of study, specifically if you're not working already, participate in professional associations and networking events, and also register and utilize LinkedIn for job search and networking. LinkedIn is still the #1 way, 95% of recruiters are using LinkedIn as a source to find candidates. So especially for the graduate population, we want to make sure that we're giving the resources to help make sure that you have a marketable online profile.
Okay, as we're trying to change the slide, and for some reason it's not working. This is Amy, and I'm going to kind of talk about the next piece, which is the alumni relations side. And again, I mentioned that I used to work in the career development office before Keith came on board to run the show over there. And when he came in, it was a great opportunity for our 2 offices to really work closely together and build some programs that really speak to not just our undergraduate population, but our graduate population, which here at UB is pretty much half of who we are as a student body. So we really have to look at that in a very unique way. And we have really very specific programs here. So we have a school of education that pretty much works with a master's degree and above. So their experience is going to be very different than an international School of Engineering master's degree candidate. So when we look at offering engaging events from the Alumni Office, we need to really look at the graduate school experience here at UB and how that speaks to them. If they're coming here, super focused for a degree, we need to kind of tap into that and say, hey, listen, if you're coming here to get your master's in education, and you may or may not come to this main campus, there's 3 campuses we actually have where our grad students can, be, going to class. We need to look at that. And so, as a typical alumni relations office, we focus on these diverse opportunities, engaging the students and the alum, broadening and deepening the participation with that beneficial relationship that begins with the beginning as a student and then continuing that beyond graduation. And that looks really different for a grad student because, when Keith and I were putting this together, we were talking about our undergrad experience, and when I think about my alma mater, usually the first thing I think about is my undergrad experience, and not necessarily my graduate experience. That's a culture that we want to look at when we're looking at graduate students specifically. So the partnership with career services career development is everything. It is really our ace in the hole. It's the way we need to lead the charge, because when you're looking at your graduate degree program, it really is with that next step in mind. I'm going to get that promotion. It's a means to an end. I need to figure out that this is like where I'm going in my career. So we really need to tap into that energy when we're planning engaging activities for our grad students. So these distinct advancement strategies that we're offering, when we look at advancement, we look at these grad students can then present, when we offer them services, to be employer partners in the future, potential donors, and really be strategic resources moving forward. So when we look at alumni engagement and events, we do definitely look at the ROI. When we're planning things, we want to improve the communication with future alumni through consistent and targeted messaging. An undergrad is going to go to our Facebook page because we are really involved in student life. But if you're a grad student, you're only here, Tuesday night at 6 o'clock, and you're going right to your class. You're not necessarily, grabbing a bite to eat in Marina Dining Hall. We have to have something really strategically focused. Like he said, having a LinkedIn profile seminar for graduate students, something that speaks to them. If we do an e-blast, it's giving a shout out to grad students in the School of Engineering or School of Design. Really looking at that segmented, that affinity-based, reach. So when we're looking at that, we want to talk about the career needs, their training, resources for any sort of alumni career development. I feel like that is the hook for them, to feel that connection to their graduate school. And then we measure that success focused on that grad students with their attendance at events, registering and using the services like Keith had mentioned. We're doing more of our platforms, linking together and promoting that 24-hour-a-day online career builder type services that we offer, resume reviews and things like that, which can be done any hour of the day. Retaining and analyzing those demographics post-event, tapping into what Keith does after graduation. He sends out a post-grad survey. We look at that for donor cultivation, corporate partnerships, where are these people working, as well as, looking at these program evals. Is it smart to do this in, this alumni, get-together networking event in Washington, D.C., and how many of them did our grad school program, and what are they doing currently? So all of those demographics really come into play when we're looking at engagement efforts. And then what is that return on investment for us as an institution? And then Keith and I can kind of talk together about this. We started looking at mentoring, and we've created something for the undergraduate experience specifically, with our alumni board being the mentors and the mentees being an entire living learning community on campus. But what does that look like for grad students? We were kind of talking about that, and how we can create a formalized mentorship program. Because again, if you're coming back, I went back to graduate school when I was 38 years old. That looks really different than someone who's just coming right into grad school post-undergrad. So we have a big population of people that have already been in the workforce, and they're coming here to just get that piece. But that mentorship piece is really important, even if. Right? So, Keith, I don't know if you want to talk about that.
Absolutely. And I think it's, again, we always have to keep in mind about who are our population and who we're working with. So some of our mentorship programs we have for our undergraduate students, we're really trying to connect our students with our alumni to learn about the professional field. What are the expectations? What are tips that you could provide me as someone who is potentially entering the force on really how to be competitive? As opposed to with some of our graduate students, as Amy was saying, has this professional experience. We think our mentorship is really geared toward industry-specific areas. So what kind of advice would you give me on being successful on advancing throughout my marketing career or my advertising career, my engineering career? So again, it's more targeted and more focused, but that's how our graduate students are. They're more targeted and more focused. Yeah. And you'll find that one thing that we're going to keep going over as we go through the presentation is just the overall experience, which obviously our admissions professionals know that we want to offer an overall experience to our graduate students. So that's why we think opening the communication and partnering is really just kind of showing what the institution has to offer as a whole.
Right, and we, when going back to the mentor idea with a grad student, so I think what's important is we speak to that professional organization type feel. So it would not necessarily be like with the traditional undergraduate experience mentorship program that we would create, which we will talk about a little bit. We would take that format where it would be, a mixer for them to meet the mentors and the mentees, one conversation or one job shadow throughout the semester, and then like a wrap-up dinner. This, to speak to a grad student in a grad student schedule and then have that more professional feel to it, we were talking about like, creating that, it would be 100% online. We have like a whole global learning initiative where we do a lot of online learners and hybrid classes, especially on the graduate level. So we would have to, it would have to be super, super focused, like talking about, if you are a student who wants to, studying biomed and you want to get into this pharmaceutical company and you need a mentor, that's going to look a lot different than an undergraduate experience where it's like, choice of major. So we need to like really be laser focused on that and earmark, alums that are going to say, hey, listen, I'm going to get you entree into this company. And that's kind of the feel and the look of like as we create these programs for mentoring graduate students. And then, of course, we all talk about it, the college choice. So do you want to start?
Sure, absolutely. So as you all know, we're all under increased pressure from the government about what does our institution offer? What is the value of our degree that we have? So I think that's something for all of our areas, whether it be admissions, career development, alumni relations, and we always have to keep in mind what is it that we're offering to our students and what is the overall package. So put together by the government, the scorecard initiative, students are forced to look at the cost of their degree, the graduation degree, the loan default rate, amount borrowed, and employment rates. So as Amy was saying, the return of investment. So if I start this program, what am I going to get out of it? And ultimately, what is the return that I'm going to have?
Right. And it's interesting from the alumni perspective, and I being an alum of this university, when I went and chose this program here at UB, as a working parent, it was all these things. It's location sensitive. So it was close to my house. It was affordable. But at the end of the day, I was still taking out X amount of dollars towards this, this goal of mine, right? I wanted to get my master's degree, and it was, I had to do it at night because I had 2 kids, that kind of thing. And so I was ready. I was bound and determined to finish because I knew it was important to my family, but I needed to feel that support, which again, I was in a very unique program that almost was like cohort style, so that was really appealing. So when you look at the alumni side or the support side of how a grad student can get to the finish line, to get to there, we really need to look at that. We need to kind of tailor-make all the programs and all the services that we offer them as graduate students to speak to that. The fact that they're taking out this money in addition to the fact that they're working or balancing families, mortgages, all of those things. But we have to be mindful of that because at the end of the day, we're all held accountable for that as an institution. And I think the graduate experience especially, because it is a finite amount of time. It's a 2-year window usually, typically, right? And we need to look at that. So when we're planning programs, and Keith and I will get into that, when they get closer to graduation, we talk about financial health after graduation, loan repayment. A lot of the students that we see on the grad level here at UB, they're going into health sciences or they're going into counseling, so they might become social workers. And we all know when you walk away with a master's degree in counseling, which Keith and I both have, you're not necessarily going to be making the big bucks, but it's going to be a means to an end. You need to get that MS after your last name in order to be that director or to get your licensed, social work degree, in the state of Connecticut or wherever you are. And so that's a big thing. I mean, they might not be making the money, but like, how is that going to return for them? Are they going to get, the job with the state that they want? I mean, all of these different things that we need to be mindful of. And I guess I just covered that.
Perfect.
Yeah, so like, the cost of it. I mean, the graduation rates. I mean, the stuff that, alums can come to campus. We can do alumni panels. We can talk about what we're doing with that. Keith and I will go into that. And having an alum sit on a panel and say, hey, listen, after I left UB, I got my master's in, counseling. I wanted to be a social worker. I had to do an additional 1,000 hours of practicum, and then I had to pay X amount to take the boards and things like that. And that was a big investment. So now, like, where am I now? And then you could see someone on a panel saying, hey, listen, I did that with a 5-year plan, and now I'm running a nonprofit or something like that, you know what I mean? So that is really, it's important for them to hear those testimonials from alums. It's important for them to see, have a face and a name, and it be very, like, specific, I think.
And one thing to keep in mind, is, and also why we included this, is that especially for admissions professionals, answering these questions aren't always necessarily just your duty. You know, across campus, these are all of our jobs. We all work together with one common goal. Obviously, we want to bring the students to our institution, but we also want to make sure that they're happy and that they are getting those jobs that are out there. So again, as we go on, we really want to cover on how can we work together, how can we utilize each other's resources to really showcase what's already being done, but then to promote what the institution actually has to offer.
Right. You know, one of the things that's really cool about, again, it becomes a perception piece. If you go to our LinkedIn page at the university, what we did is the alumni had there's a lot of little subgroups that have their own little UB alumni page or something on LinkedIn. What we did is we had a page for the Alumni Association that had like a couple hundred followers, but it wasn't really where people were going. They were going to the University of Bridgeport LinkedIn page. So we encouraged everyone to go to the main page where we have 20,000 people on there, and then it's a consistent piece of messaging. So you've got students, you've got alums, you've got employers, you've got people that are all kind of going to one spot to get the information about the university, right? So that's where we have all of our notable alumni. So you can see everyone from Fred DeLuca, the CEO of Subway, as an alum here, to, you know, someone who's in the health sciences field, who's doing nutrition or whatever, which we have really, you know, great programs for. So students can see that from the admissions standpoint as they're looking at a university for a graduate program, but alums can see that as well if they're career changing and they're like, oh, you know, I have a degree in marketing, but I want to get into XYZ, and then they can kind of LinkedIn becomes a very powerful tool for both my office and for Keith's office to kind of utilize. So those are those things that kind of tie into this whole scorecard ROI, where all of our different departments are kind of working together to that same messaging, making sure it's consistent, the same thing.
Absolutely.
And that, wow, good segue. I did not plan that, so I actually did. So the campus partnership piece, Keith, I don't know if you want to talk about student life.
Sure.
I mean,
absolutely. And I think, again, what's important is that we want to make sure to communicate with each other of what's already going on campus. At my former institution, I remember one time I was walking across campus, and I saw an admissions professional giving a tour, and when they walked past our career development office, they said, and this is a center that will automatically give you an internship your freshman year. And I remember hearing that and thinking, that's not true. We're not a placement office, and as a freshman, you know, obviously each student's a little bit different. So we thought to ourselves, we need to open this communication. So what we started doing was actually having meetings once a semester just to talk about updates that we have on campus, some of the testimonials that we've received that admissions would be able to showcase. So really, again, it's opening the communication, finding out what's going on across campus, because it could ultimately help you in even promoting the institution, but at the same time, it can also assist us with expanding our resources, which we'll also talk about in a little bit more. So we'll kind of get into specifics as we go on about this.
Okay, so again, we keep going back to the partnership that we have. You know, we're doing a lot of different things. You know, we've got like a little mission statement that we kind of touched upon multiple times during this webinar, where we're really looking at the whole from start to finish. You're looking at someone entering, you know, the campus as a first year or first time graduate student, or their, you know, whatever their first impression. Even if they're looking at programs like I did, you know, what's close to my house, what's affordable, what can I do when I'm managing a family as a grad student. You know, it's that experience from the day they walk on campus to the day they receive their diploma and then beyond. So it's that culture that we want to create, where it's like they get a service, they are thought about, you know, all of the programs kind of touch upon who they are on campus, and then when they move on, it becomes that I'm going to give back. I'm going to give back as a donor, I'm going to give back with my time, I'm going to mentor, I'm going to stay involved, I'm going to stay tethered, even if it wasn't my undergrad, even if I wasn't an RA, even if I didn't live here, even if I wasn't in Greek life here, you know, I was a grad student here. I mean, I have a few people on my alumni board that just did graduate here, and they're part of that for very specific purposes. I have one person on the alumni board who I've invited who did his MBA here, but he had his engineering undergrad at UConn. But what he's very interested in is career development. So he is a certified resume writer. and he does that. We can promote his side business, and we can talk about his experience as a global resource person for his engineering company. But he really enjoyed his experience here from an MBA standpoint because it was so flexible. And he really did connect with so many of the professors, and it became like a really good networking opportunity for him from a career standpoint. So inviting those people to your alumni board are really, really important because it's not just the undergraduate experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
absolutely. And even one thing, as we were going throughout even my own profession, we hear all the time about the career centers and the alumni. They're partnering, they're doing these different initiatives. And I think something that we really want to stress is that just because something has been done a certain way in the past doesn't mean that it has to be continued that way. So instead of just going along with how other departments are doing it, Amy and I, we actually sat down and we had a conversation about, one, so what is it that our office we're looking for? One, we want to have our students more prepared for professional opportunities. We want them to know more about what to expect, but then we also want to expand the actual amount of opportunity. So working with Amy together, she's speaking with people who have been working in the field for years, people who have a connection to the University of Bridgeport, and also alumni that she hopes to engage on campus. So we're finding out that we have two different goals, that if we work together, we're pretty much going after the same goals that we have together. So it's really utilizing each other's resources, which we all know in higher ed, it can always be restrictive.
right, and that kind of touches upon the whole budget piece and staffing. So one of the things that we're doing this semester, Keith and I both have graduate assistants, and we're actually splitting a grad assistant this semester. We're splitting someone.
Not literally.
Exactly. And she is, so she's doing the higher ed program here on the master's level, and she's very interested. She was very interested in academic advising. So we said, but she also has an interest in advancement. So one day a week she is over here just working with annual giving, working with some of our alumni events type things, and then we have her specifically working in the career development office a half day a week focused on alumni career partnership. So she might be counseling an alum who's coming in for a resume review, but she also might be working on one of the programs that Keith and I are going to talk about. So that kind of stuff. And then we're splitting the cost of a few of the events, knowing that that is going to kind of feed both of our goals. So we're looking at that kind of stuff when we look at the partnership. And so I keep getting surprised, but yet we created this presentation. So one of the things, again, we talk about mentorship. As a grad student, you might be a little hesitant to be mentored, I think. So we need to frame that out. We need to be, even maybe changing the title of that, maybe calling it a colleague connection or something like that, where as we move forward with the graduate school experience here on campus, connecting these alums with the current grad students, making that a very, very professionally driven type of an initiative, right? Getting them involved in some of the professional organizations. We have a really strong School of Engineering, and we have a Society of Women Engineers on campus. We have the National Society of Black Engineers on campus that are very, very strong, very connected to their local and their national organization chapters. So, that is probably something we could lead with. We also have really strong healthcare professionals here on campus. We have, a PA program. We have a school of dentistry. We have a chiro program. So all of those programs are laser focused, and that's kind of what we need to tap into when we look at mentorship from an alumni standpoint as well.
Absolutely. And the next initiative that we have is our Compass Floor. Now, currently, this is geared towards our undergraduate students, but since we also have residential graduate students, Amy and I are also kind of figuring out details of how we can apply this to our graduate population. What we did was we actually worked with Residential Life to put together a living learning community that is focused on the students' individual career development. So these students who may be freshmen through seniors, how can we get them thinking about their life after graduation? How can we get them to be really active participants in their own professional development? So through various programming, including an alumni mentorship, which we have already started, we're starting to connect these students with alumni to really just get them exposed, develop their professional network, get that professional advice. But we're showing even just within the past semester that these students are really catching on, and we look forward to, again, just thinking outside of the box, going into the residence hall and seeing how can we engage these certain populations.
And the one thing that we're looking at, and all of our departments feel this, is the metrics. So with the Compass Floor, it becomes a really, really cool litmus test for these kind of programs. So the alumni board are the mentors. The students that live on that floor are the mentees. We're looking at how these students retain for these 2 semesters from this pilot year program. And so that, and then we're looking at GPAs, we're looking at who returns, we're looking at their majors, and how these touches from the alumni board from being mentored has helped them to either stay on campus to continue, or if their GPAs improve, and or if they decide to stay and live for another year on this particular floor. Now we can apply that same model to a graduate school experience, and it's that same thing where we look at the, maybe we go from a professional standpoint if we only do MBAs, and we, invite like some sort of professional organization to mentor from the alumni standpoint. And then we look at how many of them actually finish based on that touch of, hey, they go to one professional organization type of an event with those alumni mentors. So, so these are the things we're playing around with, and certainly moving forward here at UB is something we need to be mindful of in the graduate school experience. Oh, and then the passport to graduation. So Keith and I have this whole thing that we're working on, and again, because we have a very strong undergraduate and graduate population that are pretty much split in the middle, we're going to both invite the graduating seniors and the graduating graduate students to this passport to graduation program. So do you want to talk about your side of it, Keith?
Sure, absolutely. So what we want to do is, again, to get students thinking about this early on and not waiting until May when they're going to be graduating. So we are putting on a series of programming, such as our Career Expo, which is coming up this February. We have a resume workshop that's prepared in March, a LinkedIn profile seminar on, how, again, getting students on this system before they actually graduate. And LinkedIn, we actually recommend that every student has a LinkedIn account prior to graduation because we do, again, know the benefits of it. Also, we're collaborating with Alumni Relations for a business etiquette dinner that's coming up. We have a job search webinar that is going to be hosted by Indeed.com, a young alumni event.
Yeah, and one of the things I play around with as the alumni director, during commencement, we want to make sure that people feel that passport, that next step into the Alumni Association. So there's a series of events that we will be putting into this passport to graduation, like your financial health post-grad, the Young Alumni event, which is the last 10 years, and that's usually, we're about 60 miles out of New York City, so it's usually in New York City. That's where a majority of our students either work, live, or are from. So we'll offer that in June, and we'll kind of promote that during commencement exercises. And this year, the Alumni Board specifically wants to host a reception at either commencement or at baccalaureate to kind of invite people to come get their alumni pins, to meet the Alumni Board, or just to have like a little bit of a fun send-off to their entree into the Alumni Association. So all of these are going to be bundled with the stuff that we're promoting with Keith's side of the campus, which is basically more of that career building piece.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. And then, okay, we got to talk about our obstacles. Keith and I, we got obstacles, but we need to talk about them. So we do. We have the increased pressures from students, from parents. I mean, Lauren and Allison can talk about the admission side, but especially with the grad students, it's more about balancing the family life and their work life balance. And looking at that also with restricted resources, government funding via the scorecard, and then, just less companies are doing sponsored MBA programs. I mean, it's becoming harder to finish your graduate studies. So we need to look at that, take that into account when we're planning these programs and services.
As we said, also the high expectations, but also we need to prove what is the value of our degree. So it's no longer just saying, oh, well, you'll have a great experience and you'll get a job. We need to find specific examples. And we can't just rely on one specific department to do that. So again, we're not relying on admissions to just know all of these numbers off the top of their head, but we do want to make sure that we do have the open communication so that we can be contacted to provide any information we have, or alumni, or et cetera, and go from there. Also, something that we face is that having students really just be active participants in their own development, having them want to see, what can I do now that's ultimately going to help me get that competitive edge? How can I become involved? And I think it's all of our areas that we work together to promote this, and that we want to promote our students to become involved and to take advantage of what is being offered to them.
Right. I think one of the things, that's a great point, because when you look at a grad student, they may or may not have a resume that's up to date, and they may or may not understand what that means as far as like taking that next step, and that they could utilize that on campus, because they are, if they are doing it, we have a main campus and then we have 2 other satellite campuses, and if they're doing all their coursework at a satellite campus, let's say they're in the School of Education, they might not even think about, oh, I can go over to the Career Development Office, or I can utilize the Alumni Office as like a resource to meet other alums that are currently working in the teaching field or what have you, because especially if you are in a field like teaching, I mean, it's tough unless you get, when you want to get into a specific school district, or if you've done a student teaching opportunity and then there's, cutbacks and things like that, utilize having us be that name, that face with their experience on campus. I mean, I think that's one of the challenges we face when we look at like a satellite campus, especially.
Absolutely.
Okay, but we need to grow together. So we want to open up those communications and keep us each informed of the opportunities for collaboration. Like anytime we have a notable alum come back to campus, it's an opportunity for me to reach out to Keith and say, hey, listen, do you have any students that would be interested in this opportunity? I get emails from alums all the time, hey, I need a rock star business student, and then Keith can kind of look into what who he's been helping, or reach out to business school, and it's kind of that whole partnership piece that is so essential. It's so essential.
Also, together we can highlight events that showcase overall institutional experience, such as mentorship programs, testimonials, specifically alumni and career engagement and assistance. So again, it's really showcasing what do we already have available. These are things that people are looking for when they're looking for a graduate program. So really showcasing, we have that here. We can connect you to an alumni. We can help you with your resume or job search techniques. So there are different things that are happening. And then finally, we can work together to try to create ideas of how can we work together. So develop creative recruitment ideas, such as maybe meet a career advisor. So if you're interested in getting your MBA, can I talk to someone who actually has their MBA? Can I talk to someone who actually went through the program? And working together with alumni relations, we can do that. Also, ask an alumni panelist, even having a career advisor come to maybe one of the recruitment events so that we can answer any questions. But again, it's utilizing your resources, and we can talk now about some specific ideas of how we can actually work together.
So, of course, we can talk about benefits, because everyone wants to hear about that. So the admissions side, obviously, admissions and alumni do need to work closely together with this communication piece, because we're all out on the road, both alumni and admissions, doing engagement events, meeting potential students, and talking to alums that, their careers have been forever changed by the programs that they did at UB. We recently went out to California, and we met with some alums out there, and they offered, if you're ever out here doing admission stuff, come, I'd love to meet with them, things like that. Those are the conversations that we're starting to really utilize and look at and capitalize on, because it becomes mutually beneficial. And then it looks at that whole philanthropy piece from the alumni relations side. So if a grad student gets that right connection from a corporate standpoint or a career standpoint, it becomes a really good opportunity for us to invite them to give back to the university moving forward.
Absolutely. And then again, with career development, we want to showcase ourselves. So when we do have a great success story about a student who got this amazing job or amazing internship, we want to share it. We want to show it's not only just coming out of our department, but it's coming out of our institution. So again, having that formalized relationship and that communication is ultimately, it's going to benefit everyone. Now, for some specific areas of collaboration, one thing that I thought was excellent, we've recently actually just done this, is really attending different career expos, exhibitions, town events, all while sharing the cost of registration. So even one example is we had one of our graduate admissions professionals who was going to be attending one of our local business council business expos. What we did was we worked together, and actually our department also went. We shared the cost of the registration. So we were not only recruiting for students, but we were also, I went around and I talked to different exhibitors that were there, different organizations, to try to find new opportunities for our students. So instead of me just carrying the cost, we were able to expand it and break it in half. So again, it's utilizing it. Also, every year at our graduate, as our career and internship expo, which is available to undergraduate and graduate students, we always have our graduate admission professionals present, because we want them to be preparing students, and giving options about the graduate program that we have here at UB. So it's, again, it's light after graduation, and graduate school is definitely one of those pieces.
Right, and again, to touch on those testimonials, when you make that alumni connection and you hear those good stories and you hear that positive feedback and how this leveraged, this graduate experience leveraged your opportunities professionally, it becomes mutually beneficial for all of our different departments. So yeah, the more we can share that, the better off we are. I mean, like I said, Keith and I have like a direct link between our web pages on our website. You know, we're doing more of that cross promotion on our social media, and you know, all of those things are just so helpful to kind of just keep each other in the loop.
Mm-hmm. And I think what's also important is that we can say that we're working together and we can say that we're partnering, but I think it's important to really just develop a formalized connection. So maybe a liaison from each area. So for example, we have a liaison with the admissions department. So anytime, at the beginning of every semester, we send in a list of our upcoming events. If we have a great placement that we have, we want to make sure to share that. If we have a testimonial of a new internship or full-time opportunity, we'll make sure to communicate that. So having some sort of communication point so that I know when something comes up, it makes it as easy as possible to me. I know exactly who I'm connecting with.
Okay, questions and hopefully answers. We don't know. And we're going to bring that because I am technologically challenged. So Allison's going to help me out here and bring up the questions panel. I know if Ariane has joined us again.
I'm here. Can everyone hear me?
We hear you now.
Thanks. Hi, everyone. I'm so sorry about before. I'm welcoming everyone, and nobody can hear me, so I'm so sorry that happened, but I have no idea what that was. But thank you so much, Amy and Keith. That was full of insights that I think we can all benefit from. So I do have a few questions, and we have about 10 minutes or so I encourage you to type your questions into the questions box if anything comes up. I'm going to read the questions, and then Amy and Keith can take it away one by one. So Brett DiMarzo from Suffolk University asks, do you see that graduate students use the Career Development Center more, less, or about the same as undergraduate students? And what factors do you think have contributed to that?
Well, it's interesting. I can speak from my experience just in general of working in career development. I'm currently here at UV. I would find that a large majority of our graduate students, specifically our international population, do utilize our center and are very active in coming in and taking advantage of opportunities. In the past, I found that this population doesn't necessarily utilize it as much as undergraduate. However, we want to change that. Just because I think that many people have the focus of an institution when I'm going to grad school, I just go to class, and then leave. But again, we want to offer that overall experience. I know that one of my main concerns or one of my negatives for my graduate school was that I felt that they didn't offer any sort of resources with helping me make that transition from campus to career. I didn't have any help with my resume. I didn't have help with finding a job. And that was something that, that I really didn't appreciate. So I think that we want to know, and we want admissions to know that our centers are here to help our students, and we can help them. Again, 24 hours a day, even if it's a quick resume review, if it's a quick conversation. So I think our office is definitely being underutilized by the graduate population, but we're hoping to change that.
Thank you, Keith. Thank you, Brett. Okay, next, Talise Forbes from Worcester State asks, can you provide a few examples of successful evening or weekend events that specifically targeted graduate students?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we keep talking about is this mentorship piece. So for a grad student, they will not be, I don't think they would be attracted to the word mentor-mentee as much as an undergrad. So we need to look at the professional organizations, and that's what we've done in the past. We have a very strong engineering program here on campus that I mentioned before, Society of Women Engineers and National Society of Black Engineers. Very, very popular here on campus, led by graduate students here on campus. And when we hosted our homecoming this past year, we had a specific event that was on the weekend, again, kind of tailor-making it for graduate school students to attend, that was attended by the dean of the school that had an alumni panel working in the field, specifically in engineering, and it was hosted by these two professional organizations. So it had a very distinct mentor-mentee feel, but it was very much professionally driven. So you have like the attraction of being a woman engineer, and you had an attraction of being a black engineer to be part of these professional organizations, and they talked about diversity, and they talked about some of the struggles of being, the glass ceiling, being the woman in the engineering field, and there was the panel itself filled with engineers that were alum, specifically identified with that. We had female engineers, we had male engineers, and it was really great. And those are the things that we kind of lead when we look at an alumni engagement and career type of event for a grad student.
And I think what's important is also working with the faculty, because this graduate students, they see the faculty. When they come to campus, they're meeting in their classrooms, they're meeting with the faculty. So anytime that we have an event that we want to market to the graduate students, I'll always contact the faculty and ask them, what is an appropriate time? What is an appropriate month that would be good for this? Because we want to make sure it's convenient for their class schedule, but also the faculty are key targets in helping us promote it to this population.
Thank you. Okay, Brett also asks, how do you balance events and initiatives that you do in your offices with those that the individual academic programs or specific schools, such as the School of Business, do, especially because the graduate program is usually so professionally focused?
I think collaborating is very important. We don't want to just duplicate any efforts. So we actually, specifically with our business school, we have a liaison in our business school that we communicate with. So if they have an event coming up, they make sure to let us know. If we have an event, we let them know. And usually at the beginning of the semester, we'll sit down and we'll have a discussion about what are we hoping to achieve over the next couple months. So I think open communication is definitely important because we want to make sure that we're not, again, duplicating efforts. We want to make sure we're providing resources to the faculty if they need it. So just kind of being open.
Well, and I also think with limited resources and limited staff, you know, Keith and I, we talked about the passport to graduation stuff. All of those events that we're hosting are things that can speak to both the graduate school population and the undergrad population. So what we're doing when we promote these events is we're going to have targeted promotions. So if you get an email blast as a graduate student, it's tailor-made to the graduate school experience. So it's going to list all the bullets of those programs that we're doing, and it's going to specifically say, hey, as a student, the graduate school student of, you know, the School of Engineering, you know, we invite you to come to this LinkedIn profile seminar hosted by Priceline.com. So those are so they have a specific invite, and it becomes very like tailor-made to who they are and their experience on campus. It's the same program that we're hosting for anyone's invited, but they're getting a specific ask from their alumni office or their career development office, and it feels very special and it's very affinity-based.
Right.
And that's kind of how we're creating that.
And kind of segueing off of that, just another point, is that I think, as Amy said, the promotions are also very important. So when we decided on Wednesdays we're going to be open later, we made a whole marketing plan that we were being open late for our graduate students. As opposed to just saying we're open later, we want to make sure that our students know that we're here for them. So I think specific and targeted promotions definitely helps with that as well.
Great, thank you so much. And Lauren Putnam from Mass General Hospital's Institute for the Health Professions asks, are you able to give specific examples of where UB has used alumni to recruit, such as an off-site recruitment event? If not, do you think it's something that you may look into trying?
Yeah, we are getting better about doing that. Like I said, the recruitment efforts are key, and I think with to talk about health sciences a little bit, we had a very, very robust School of Nursing for a long time here on campus, and then we did not have it any longer for about a good 20 years. The school is coming back. We have a renewed partnership with a local hospital, and so we've been really promoting that, I know, from an admissions standpoint, and the alumni are so, so excited about it. We hosted a reunion for the nurses at our homecoming, and I had asked specifically how many of them would like to mentor as we get the program up and running, and almost 100% of them said yes, when, where, absolutely. So those are the things that we're going to, as we grow programs like that, where they might have been gone for a while and we're bringing them back, that becomes a great, great opportunity for us to recruit new nursing students. And we have a ready-made group of folks that would say, hey, listen, this is where I am right now as a nurse. I got my BSN from UB in 1984, and I'm so psyched that it's coming back. And I'm really, working with them to kind of promote this new look of the new School of Nursing. So those are the things that we're looking at. Having reunions, earmarking people to say, listen, can you come and speak to this group of potential folks that are looking at this field, really become vital.
And I think, again, overlapping with our partnerships, just one example, too, Amy just recently had some alumni events that were located in Florida, and I was actually, I went to those events to just showcase some of the things we're offering, but also to interact with the alumni and to try to recruit for these opportunities. So again, that's another way of how we're just really breaking the mold.
Right.
Awesome. Thank you. Those were all our submitted questions. Does anyone have any last questions? A couple minutes left. If you have any questions, just type them in. In the meantime, I want to thank Amy and Keith so much. It's wonderful to have the perspectives from other areas of GEM as we look to broaden our perspective, our focus outside of just admissions and recruitment. So it's wonderful that we have these perspectives, and I hope that this only leads to more collaborations in the future. So with that, thank you so much. So with that, I just wanted to thank Amy and Keith again, as well as Lauren and Allison, our professional development co-chairs, and Marcus for your technology help as well. Thank you, everyone who attended. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Sorry. One quick thing. Jane Joyce, thanks for reminding me. Will the slides be made available? Yes. The slides will be made available. They'll be posted on YouTube and also to our SlideShare site and emailed to our NEGAP members, as well as on our social media.